Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today, and this one is an Authorized King James Version done by Collins. This particular model is the New Brevier edition, and it was produced in 1928. So this grandfather of Bibles is coming up on 100 years old. And it's a very nice kind of representation of the work that Collins used to do. So we'll go ahead and get into it. So you can see right off the bat that it is not quite a full Yapp, but it's a very generous Yapp, and the leather is very well preserved. Go ahead and take a look here. You can see that nice grain on this genuine leather cover. Beautiful deep grain. And I'll pull the cover just a little bit. There are a couple of perimeter lines there, one at the edge of the book block, and then one at the very edge of the kind of the Yapp there at the edge of the cover. And there's a little bit of damage, but it's not too bad. It's held up quite well over the years. We do have Holy Bible pronouncing and the concordance there at the bottom, and there are some rib indications that are kind of pressed in there, but not very deep at all. Ever so slightly. They're not even really kind of raised up there. You can't really see them. On the back, you have the continuation of that nice grain, the nice Yapp, the perimeter lines, all the same features from the front, minus the Holy Bible imprinting. But a very nice leather. It has held up very well. This leather is very, very soft considering its age, almost 100 years. It does have a little bit of damage, some cracks and things on the very outer edge. But again, Collins, the quality of the Bibles was so great that any of these older editions, really, as long as they were kind of in a decent shape like this, they're going to be good to go for a while if you treat them, nicely. So on the inside here, we have kind of a synthetic, and it's that Saffiano, I believe is the name. It's kind of that simulated kind of leather, kind of crisscross pattern there, that kind of diagonal pattern. I don't know if you guys can see that, but take a look at the corner work there. And the back the same. Kind of leaves a little something to be desired, but not the worst I've seen, certainly. It does have a very nice red under gold art gilt, and we'll take a look at that when we open it up. But as far as up here, we have white head and tail bands, and it looks like I have replaced this ribbon. So usually on these older editions, what I try and do is I try and replace the ribbon with the same color ribbon that was in it, albeit I do upgrade it with like a double-sided satin ribbon. So I did replace a purple ribbon, I'm assuming, with a double-sided satin purple ribbon here. I'll go ahead and pull it out so you guys can see it. Not that it's a big deal because it's not original to the Bible, but nonetheless, just a nice double-sided satin purple ribbon. So the original ribbon was probably some terrible little dinky thing that probably broke when I first opened the Bible or something like that, or kind of tugged at it. It's usually the case with those older ribbons. So we'll go ahead and get into it now. We have a blank page there. It's kind of a thicker sheet. And this is that kind of weirder paper. I've mentioned it a few times. It's almost, I guess this is like kind of the old school coated paper. It feels kind of waxy to the touch. It feels like there's a thin coating of wax on it. So I'm not sure what the process was there with that, but it definitely has kind of an odd texture, and I would not recommend writing on it. I don't think that this paper would turn out that good for you writing on it, but certainly the Bible paper is going to be fine to write on if you're so inclined. I don't know that I would do that with a 100-year-old Bible, but that's just me. So here you have the title page, the Holy Bible, Authorized King James Version. And then you have the New Brevier, right? The New Brevier, and it is an 8VO reference Bible, and it is self-pronouncing, so it has the self-pronouncing marks. And 8VO describes the size. That's an octavo size. I have to make a video kind of talking about paper sizes. I have a video that I'm kind of in the process of gathering Bibles for, and it's essentially like every size Bible that Oxford made. It's kind of a nerdy video, but I'll probably go into a little bit more there. But essentially, this is the larger page size, the 8VO. It would have been like kind of equivalent to like the long primer size. So kind of the full size Bible size there. Here's the licensing page. If you look closely, you'll see how many editions were printed and the year that it was printed, 1928, and then printed in Great Britain down there. Now, if you did notice, there was no provision on this previous page for India paper, and that's evident given the fact that the paper is yellowed quite a bit substantially here. It's kind of heavily oxidized, so this paper will continue to yellow over time. It doesn't have the whatever process they put the Oxford paper through, the India paper through. So you have your epistle dedicatory, you have your table of contents, and it gets right into it. The first book of Moses, called Genesis, with a little description of the signs used in this book. It's pretty standard fare by now. But go ahead and get you in tight so you can see it. Beautiful layout, and it is very similar to a long primer, this new Brevier. So we'll turn a page, and you can see the kind of the general layout here. You do have the book name and the chapters that are associated with that page. You also have running headers here. Then you do have kind of some chapter summaries here at the beginning of each chapter, which is nice. You also have the indicators here for the chapter numbers throughout the Bible. Those will be kind of sequential throughout the entire Bible. So as we flip through the Bible, you'll see them going higher and higher to be 300, 400, 700, 1,000. We also have nice double line drop caps there. And then we have the center column references, obviously. This is a double column verse by verse layout, kind of standard for the King James. Now the center column references, they are delineated here with lines to kind of separate the chapter breaks here. So you have the remainder of chapter 1 up here, and then you have chapter 2 here, and then chapter 3 for this, as it is. And we'll kind of flip through it a little bit. They are using Pilcrow markers to designate new paragraphs. I'll show you one here. I like Pilcrow markers. I think it's a very nice way to do it. They just look elegant to me. And it's kind of a hat tip to tradition. Let's flip to the middle and you guys can see that wonderful page edge gilt. They did an excellent job. I did not do that. Don't get me wrong. I could never apply it this nicely. But it looks spectacular. And to be honest, I don't even mind that it's not on India paper. I kind of like the fact that it's oxidized. I'm a fan of kind of yellowed paper. Plus the scent that it gives off is a little bit, I don't know, kind of like a vanilla smell. It's nice to me. So I like aged paper, the way it looks and the way it smells. So I don't mind this, that it's kind of yellowed and it has this nice page edge gilt. And it's just a very nice overall layout. So you can see here the poetic section doesn't have any sort of poetic layout. It's still just going to be a versified double column. And then I'll show you that right there. You can see it says 621. So Psalm 143 is the 621st chapter in the Bible. And then we'll continue. If I remember correctly, I think it's 1,189 chapters. Don't quote me on that. We'll see it here in a second when we get back to Revelation. Let's get to the New Testament, and we can take a guess as to whether or not it's a red letter text back in 1928. I'll let you throw your guesses in now while we're flipping. But you have the end of Malachi, then you have the New Testament title page. And you have the Gospel according to St. Matthew. And of course, it is a black letter text. A beautiful layout. Beautiful layout. All right, and let's get to the end here. There is going to be probably a good bit of helps. And you can see here, you've probably noticed a couple of them. There are some kind of image plates throughout. I know this is kind of hit or miss with some people. Some people tend to get kind of off-put saying this is a second commandment violation to have pictures of Jesus. And some people just aren't partial to having images in the Bible. It's kind of take it or leave it for me. Obviously, if it's a study Bible, I would prefer them. But in text Bibles like this, it's kind of either way is fine for me. But just something to be aware of, that it does have images throughout. If you're looking at this particular edition, the Collins New Brevier from the 1920s. All right, so we have the last page, Revelation here, and now let's double check. Let's see how many chapters there are. 1,189 chapters in the Bible. Then you have the end of the New Testament, and then you have the Bible Reader's Manual, or Aids to Biblical Study. Now, this is kind of a chunk, so let's try and go through it fairly quickly. I'm not going to turn to every page, but we'll hit the highlights. You have an index to the Holy Bible. Get you guys in tight there. Actually, let me go back real quick. And I'll show you I forgot that, the show through the paper. Now, again, this is not India paper, but it's funny because this paper is a little bit thicker than India paper would be, and there is a little bit more show through than what India paper would have, but it's still very minimal. It's not, it's in comparison to today's standards, it's outstanding. So, just a side note there. So, we have the index. So you have the chronology and history of the Bible. I think that's it. Yep, the chronology and history of the Bible. And you have the chronological conspectus of New Testament history. Then you have the concordance. If I remember correctly, this concordance is pretty sizable. Actually, I'll show it to you right quick. I'll get you in there tight so you guys can see what kind of information there is. I don't know if anybody actually like uses their concordance. I usually don't use my concordance in a Bible. I have a standalone Strong's concordance that I would reference if I needed to. I guess it's useful if you're on the go and you have it. But I don't use the concordance very often in general. I just tend to read. I just read and read and read. On occasion, if I stumble across something like tree, right, I want to see all the uses of the word tree in the Bible, I'll use it. But for the most part, I haven't really had any deep studies like that because I just tend to resort to using a study Bible or like a commentary with everything in it. But that's just me. I'm getting distracted now and I've gotten lost. Okay. Oh, there we go. Look, they done did it. They did it. Look, the Biblical Gazetteer. I love it. I love it. Let's go ahead and get you in close so you guys can appreciate this old school way of saying index to maps. And so this is a pretty sizable gazetteer. They must have a lot. Yeah, there's a good bit. And it looks like there's some explanations too, giving you like some brief descriptions about the points too as well on the maps. Now, these maps, dated, very dated, but that's okay because they look good. To me, at least, I like them. I like stuff like this, kind of the old-timey deals. They're not the best maps you could possibly have, and they're hard to read, and they have some crazy colors. But you know what? They're maps, nonetheless. Look at that. Love it. Love it. And these maps are on it's like a thicker paper. It doesn't feel coated like those front pages or like the prints throughout the Bible. It's not that same coated paper, although it might be. It does feel kind of coated, but not waxy like the other pages. There we go. We have the end. It's the fly leaf there, so there's just kind of some kind of very slight area to write. And you have the end. So, a beautiful addition from Collins. Let's go ahead and get you some measurements. I'm going to measure, I don't know, we'll do to the full edge of the Yapp, I guess. Why not, right? So we'll pull it up here, and it's 9 inches, it looks like, just over 9 inches. Like 9 1/16 of an inch tall. It's a big boy, it's a big Bible. It's a full-size Bible. Not super big, just full size. And it's 6 inches wide, so like a 9x6. And thickness is about 1.5 inches, right at 1.5 inches. So good size, 9x6 by 1.5 inches. It's a full-size Bible. Let's go ahead and get you a measurement on the fonts. Start with the uppercase. And we'll do the, I don't know, I always want something that's going to like help me out when I'm measuring it. I don't know, T's? All I'm getting are like T's and A's. Here's an M. We'll go with that. I don't know if you guys can see this way over here on the side. Sorry. So we have an M. And it looks to be about an 8.5. Yeah, about 8.5 point font for the uppercase. And for the lowercase, we'll do the M in many here. And it's an 8.5 also. So an 8.5, an 8.5 point font versus Times New Roman for this edition. So not terribly small. 8.5 point font is readable, and especially as legible as readable for this size Bible, certainly. And it's just a beautiful layout. I'm partial to the long primer layout, and anything that's kind of similar to it is certainly appealing to me. Plus, it's a Collins, and I love Collins Bibles. I really think that they were just kind of a step above everybody else. So, yeah. Bible Buddies, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. Otherwise, until next time, Bible Buddies, bye.